All right, so I'm just gonna start this review now. I'm gonna do um both yesterday's review and today um in one because today I didn't trade much, so I'll do both. Right now looks like silver and gold, I guess, because we're both trading sort of together. So they have that little fake out here, got sold off, but then got saved, back up. And this could end up being a breakout in the end. But I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna waste mental energy, well, mental capital on this right now. But especially silver, look at it. Silver, I think it's definitely pushing. And we saw here this exhaustion again, and making new highs. Bam, got absorbed, and then bam, the second pop. So this would have been the trade for me. Since I missed that one, the second exhaustion, it did kind of like in the end pop again after pulling back a little bit, but this one's already risky. It could be rolling over now, and this could be a short here. Not messing with that. But the first one, if I had seen it, that's the one that I would have traded. Here, I guess, into the second exhaustion. So until we see the second volume capitulation, which happened here, and that's where you take it off. Um, anyways, so in fact, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna close this. I'll leave it open just in case. So let's go back to the chart, right? Um, dude, you know what? Let me check my notes from yesterday really quick. So um, so okay, no, okay. So what happened yesterday? Yesterday, this is all trade in oil. Then we had Nasdaq. Okay. So so yesterday, like oil was the main thing, and then I start the day with um you know in the pre-market, you're waiting for this breakout here, never happened, and comes back down. Um, and the 60, I believe it was a 60, yeah, the 60 basically was the level. And this thing was being like pushed down into 60/60s. I think I can still use a 5 second here. And I actually tried. I think I took this trade here after it dipped below 60/60 into the 50s, but got like soaked and popped back up, and then was respecting here 60/60. I took a trade off of that, and it was a good trade actually. I don't know why I don't have it marked it here, but that was okay. But then it ended up failing, and then breaks below here back into the 50s, and then continues selling down all the way down. And then that's where I remember thinking, okay, I'm gonna go. I can't remember what I did. I think I went to take a shower or make breakfast or something like that. Both. And while I was walking away from the computer, I could see here this pushing into 60.38. I think it touched 6.38 or 39 according to this. And and I remember seeing here this like the soaking here, these volume candles here, and thinking I am not going to touch it, even if it's showing me that negative delta and that not moving, so that like absorption sort of action, because I thought the next level is 620. And I'm not going to get involved unless it comes down into 620. Um, and turns out that this is when Trump tweeted or said something, and it was then tweeted about Iran, and and then we got this volume candle here, bam, and it shot up. And then when we get, obviously the tweet is the catalyst, so that's like doesn't show up here in the chart, but still, even here, just from a technical perspective, if the key level here was 60.60, and then we dip below it, and then we get some soaking action and comes back up and reclaims 60.60, all of a sudden everybody here that's like shorting and trading the break below the 60s and want to short this and ride it down into the 620 area, all these people are trapped. So whether there was a tweet or not, if we see this happening in a chart after some volume, good volume candles down here, most likely this is already turning. So, but obviously here it was a tweet. So I missed all this when I came back from taking a shower. This is already up here. So you can imagine how frustrated I was, especially because I've been stalking this fucking oil, trade for who knows how long. I lose sleep because of it. So um, this is a way that I would have traded it. So the yellow rectangle would be a core position, and these would be in and out scalps, the orange ones. So we have this trend line, can be extended down up to here. And why am I entering here? Because, dude, and actually I don't know why, because this, I mean, honestly, you could be entering from here. Because once you get back into after this, you get this push back up and you get this exhaustion candle. And then it creates this little structure here. The same thing that we've talked about so much. Where after this exhaustion candle, it stays up here in high and traps. Sure, it hasn't taken out 60 yet, 60.60, but it's right there, right beneath it, and right beneath, like, and basically right beneath this VPOC, this volume point of control, um, that was created just below that 60-60 level with this consolidation here. So that looks to me that would have been the first entry, the first trade, and makes sense to ride that thing all the way up into, um, well, into whenever we get some exhaustion here, some real prints, which it looks like it starts off here and then up here. Um, but in any event, at least the 80s, because this is where it topped out earlier here on my first trade. So I probably would have been taken off into the 80s, but then, it overshoots you a little bit. Maybe, I don't know how it looked because I wasn't there. That seems to be the first trade. Um, Obviously, it would be a huge factor when you get this move. And it's at this time, by this time, if you already know that this is moving because of the Trump's tweet, you immediately know that this is not the end of it. That it's not just a move up into the high of this range, the top of the range in the 80s, but this is gonna keep going, right? I've already mentioned before a few times because I've done my higher time frame analysis where 62, the low 62s between 60 and 62 and 62.10 or 15, that's like the very edge of this liquidity area that we're in right now. If once it takes out that level, if it keeps going up, we're in a very low liquidity territory, and we don't get real liquidity until we get up into 70. So there's like a volume vacuum there that's just gonna go, it's just gonna go parabolic there. So this area is super important. You wouldn't expect this to blow through that area, so at least you would expect this with such a strong catalyst, because the strength of the catalyst matters. That Trump tweet, I don't know if you remember it, but it said something like, Iran, we're going after you, we're going to eliminate, whatever he said, something because of all the killing and all that. It was like a really threatening tweet. So Catalyst was strong. Um, so this means that, you know, a potential target area is, could potential move can be all the way up into that 62 level. So we get here the 80s, exhaust, it pulls back, it gets soaked up, and then comes, sort of again. And I'm using here, and I would be always using a local VPOC here. So, once if it exhausts here and it's pulling back, I'm paying attention to what is the VPOC there, which is around 77. So here it dips below 77, and the moment it takes out 77, you see a little bit here, a little wiggle there. That's again, that's sign for a long. Um, so I'm not sure if I would have taken that, but that's how I'm in hindsight looking at this, how I would have taken it. And then here, this one's obvious because it's 61 is a key level. We've traded around and again 61 a few times. And here it takes 61 out, pulls back into 61. That has to be an entry. And then you keep riding this up. We get real exhaustion here. Look at this red candle. Pulls back a little. Once we look at the VPOC, when that happens, which is, I guess this one, 61.30. Dips a little bit below it, but not quite. It looks like that's where it absorbs most, and then goes back up. The trade has to be off of 61.30. You see how it goes there, 5 dips here into the low 630s. I guess that's where you enter if you didn't hear, and then you keep riding this up. I don't know why I didn't mark this one. Maybe because it was not that obvious, but this one definitely is. Because here we already have a trend line. And this, again, look at this candle. So it exhausts here. This looks like it could be the end of the move. And this is 61.60s, but then we get a dip into that trend line and it respects the trend line. So that could be an obvious entry. Not so much. These entries that I didn't mark here are actually easier for me because we've had an exhaustion and then we're reclaiming the VPOC. So that's kind of easier for me to envision myself entering there. And then getting out into the next major exhaustion here. This one, not so much because we're pulling back into that trend line, but I don't see a volume candle that indicates like a negative delta there that would see, that would say like, oh, this is a bottom getting in. And I'm not really that keen in just getting in because it's hitting a trend line if I don't see it on the tape. So I would probably eliminate this one. And maybe what's the VPOC here? This VPOC over here, which is like 61.54. And maybe when it comes back up off of the trend line and it takes that 54 level, maybe that would be an entry for me here. Takes out 54, see how it touches 60 and then pulls back into like, closer to that mid 50s area. And maybe I would be getting in there and then out into exhaustion. I think that's the way I would have traded that. We have major exhaustion here, I guess. This one's iffy. And same thing here applies. Look at that VPOC here, 61.70. Pulls back into the trend line, wiggles, takes out 70. So that's the next entry. And you just ride that up. And if the target is the 62 area, well, you'll take the second it gets into the mid 90s, high 90s, you're taking that off just in case. Although it always gives you a push and overshoots a little bit, So if your target is 62, well, here it got into 62.08 or something like that. But that's the way I would have traded that if I had been there. And again, I was extremely frustrated and very upset when I came back and I had missed that trade. So being up here, I did choose to short it because I thought, look at this trend line. And I saw some signs of exhaustion. Look at this candle here, it exhausts into that area. I think I even got in, and then and after this exhaustion here, bam, and I got in, and then it went against me up into '08. So I took a paper cut there, but in the end, I hit it here, I think, off of 62.06, and it was a good momentum short down into the 80s, and it was a good trade. It was a good trade, and I made some P&L, and that was great. Um, the problem is then that I thought this was just going to pull back a little bit and then keep going down, and I kept pushing for more. And what ends up happening is that it pulls back up into the 62 area. Then I'm using this trend line here, comes back down. You can actually see this here. The VPOC was 61.98, 97, somewhere around that. I don't remember it being. And when it so I'm waiting for it to come down below, and then kind of like, I don't want to see printing. I don't want to see a volume candle with exhaustion going into that. And if I don't see it and I see it stay heavy there, then I'm thinking it's going to take out the that BPOC, which is 97, 98, 97, and then it'll give me a flush down. And what happened here, and I remember it very clearly, was I put on my position against 98, and it was a very good entry. A little bit risky because it can always pop a little bit. I didn't wait for a pop, but it looked so weak because it didn't show any signs of exhaustion into this area. No volume capitulation, that I thought, okay, it's just going to keep going. And I held that for, I don't know, 10, 15, 20, whatever, for a little bit. And then I took it off. And right after I took it off, it actually bent. It flushed into the mid 80s. It was 87 or 88 the other 80, and that's 10 points. So that would have, I made good P&L here, and this would have been already turned this into a pretty good trade. But then because they made that stupid mistake of taking it off when it's down here in the 80s, um, I do what you're supposed to never do. I kind of did it because there was no exhaustion here, up here. But I hit the lows here thinking there was just gonna keep going, and it didn't. It chopped a little bit and then popped. So then it stopped me out. I took a paper cut, and then I missed this flush, and I was supposed to fucking capture this flush. If I had just been in from here and then stayed in, it would have been a home run trade, literally. And then I did, actually, the mistake was actually here. I hit the bottom here in 78, thinking that this is going to keep going to 60. And it's because also 60.60 was a key level, but not 61.60. And I got confused. I completely forgot that we're trading a whole point above because this thing just completely destroyed all those levels. And for some reason, I thought I had in my mind, oh, this thing is going to go to this key level in 61.60. And then I realized that's not a key level. So I am hitting the lows here, and I went on full size because I was so sure and so committed that that was going to happen. And I put a ton of size here at the lows. Is something you should never do. Always wait for a pop. And then I look at the volume candle here. Here into this flush, there was some volume capitulation here. We see some prints, some pretty heavy prints here. This was soaked. This is soaking action. And I was there just holding that, thinking that it was going to flush. It was never going to flush. And that 61.60 level was just in my head. It didn't exist. Um, and then obviously it pops up back into the 80s, and it turned a winning trade into a losing trade. All of a sudden, I'm down fucking $400 or something like that after being up like $400. So, um, what's the lesson that I get from here? Dude, that I cannot. First of all, it's a life time management, my life outside of trading sort of thing. Why am I waking up so late? Why am I going and like making breakfast and taking a shower and whatever it is that I'm doing? Um, like why I'm not doing that earlier? You know, this is 4:40 a.m. What does that? No, this is 4:40. Yeah, 4:40 a.m. So this is like, what time is it for us? Like 10 a.m. or something like that. Why the fuck am I not already ready with everything done, sitting at my desk and just focused, you know? So then I wouldn't have missed this thing. It's fucking 10 a.m. and I'm still going, just not at my desk trading. So that was that was really stupid. And then the key lesson here is that, the going on tilt and then the revenge trading. There's a few, I did make mistakes here. These were stupid mistakes. This could have been a winning trade, and it wasn't because I made mistakes. But um, but this is not as, look, this is chop. It requires you to be laser focused and be very precise. And okay, you make a couple mistakes and then you mess up the trade. Um, but I wouldn't be in that position if I had taken the easy trade. If I had been there for the easy trade, the one that had a real edge. This is not real edge. This is like really pushing your skills and making, and fingers crossed you're not making a mistake, and you're and sometimes you do make mistakes. So I can't beat myself for this, even though I can. Okay, I can zoom in and the details. Why am I buying the lows here and all that stuff? Why did I hesitate here? Um, and take my size off before the flush, all these things. But point is that the low-hanging fruit and the trade with very, very real edge was here, and that's the one that I missed. And honestly, it's the only one that I should be trading. So that's what happens. Then we get, I think we were trading at what time was it? At 8:30 or at 10? I can't remember. No, at 10. At 10, we were expecting the the Supreme Court decision didn't happen, but we got that other piece of data that I wasn't. This is the other thing. I'm not even prepared. I'm not like doing my homework. I'm not doing what I should be. I should have known that it was not just the Supreme Court thing. It was also, um, I don't know what data was coming out. I forgot. Um, was it the home sales, the construction, the home sales and the construction starts. And apparently that came out at 10. So or was it 8:30? I can't even fucking remember. Um, I can't even remember what was it, but I know we had some data come out, and I did the usual thing. I put in my, it was here, I think, and I put in, or maybe here, and I put in my orders, and the trade worked. And then I realized that I did it on the practice account instead of a real account, so I made some P&L there, and it didn't go through to my thing. But that's actually okay. That worked. Um, but we're gonna go just really quick because it's taking so I'm rambling and taking so long. So the important thing here is that in the end I was down like 500 or $600, and in the end I think I made it all back. And how did I make it all back? Trading the open, trading the open, and doing basically scalping purely off of tape scalping. And I scalped this consolidation here, and I scalped it pretty well. And that's how I made it back. So why is that important? Because the day before, and I think I already did a review for the day before, something very similar happened. The first day of the account, because this is the third day this is the second day, and today's the third. So first day of the account, same thing. I was down, I can't remember, 400, 500, something like that. Again, trying to trade to capture the big trades, the big breakout trades. In the end, I'm down, and in the end, what happens? Come the open, NQ, I found a consolidation to scalp purely off of tape, and I make it back again. Um, and um, and today, well, you know, today I didn't trade. Oh, what the fuck? This is NQ. This is yesterday. I'm sorry. So I'm looking at today. So yesterday, oh yeah, okay. So yesterday, I guess where did I scalp? Oh, now I remember what we did. So yesterday I was trading off of the 700 level. Um, and then when it breaks below 700, I left it alone. And then we traded this whole capitulation here into this area. Now I remember you captured this trade um, after this thing, and um, and then we also saw this one, I guess, and I can't remember if this is the one that I traded then after. So I traded this stuff here, and then I traded this bounce here. Now I remember. But again, it was scalping and trading ES, what say, NQ, what kind of brought me back, brought my, made my losses. And today, because I wasn't here, then I didn't trade anything. I just, you know, I went away. And then I don't want to come to this conclusion because it's not good for me but there were no trades for me to screw up, and there was nothing for me to dig my head my to dig to I didn't dig myself into a hole where I had to trade myself out of a hole. So come the open, you know, I trade, scalp again today. I guess it was this consolidation here because it broke before it broke below, and I made my day just scalping on cube. So what's the I guess I have to go over the crunch the data, go over the TFD data, and see. But basically, this is already 3 days in a row. It's like I'm really underperforming and making a lot of mistakes and trying to capture the big trades, trying to capture the big breakouts. And I'm failing. It's not a trading issue. I already went over that. It's a life issue, a timing issue, not being there when I have to be there, or sometimes hesitating and not taking the trade when I know I should be taking it. But I'm for many different reasons, but I'm underperforming on the big breakout trades that are not in equity. So that are in in oil and gold, things that have a slow tape and that require you to be precise, but also to be very patient. Um, and I'm just fail constantly for one reason or another reason. I'm get shaken out. I hesitate. I take my position off, and then it goes. Um, stuff like that. And and the only area where I'm actually performing really, not really well, but decently well is when we have a fast tape, we have fast resolution to trades. I can just focus, just get in my zone and focus on what I'm seeing on the tape and trade off of that. And it has enough range, it moves fast. My trades last a second. I'm in a position for a second, 2, 3 seconds maybe, and that's where I'm doing really well. So um, it doesn't mean that um, the lazy conclusion that to take out of that would be like, oh, so then just do that and don't trade the other stuff. No, that's not the right answer, because the other trades are the ones that have real huge edge. Um, the right answer is there's a lot of things that need to be tweaked in my preparation process, my morning, my being ready to trade when I have to, um, and being in the right mind, in the right state of mind, so I'm not hesitating, and I'm being patient and all that. Um, all these things need to be addressed and need to be tweaked, and I have to do a separate review. I have to do this in my report card, and then maybe I'll include it in my next review. But what are going to be those things that are, that I need to fix, and I need to fix them fast? Because why am I underperforming? And the trades that have the most edge, the trades that have the most edge are the trades where I'm missing the moves, or just botching the trades, you know, and and that's not okay. And it's basically breakout trades, because the scalping is always fading the, you know, fading the delta, basically. That's that guy that builds the algos that showed up in the chat, that's saying that's what he has, what he programmed to that algo. That is just the basic principle foundation of scalping a range. It's just fading the delta. So anyways, this review is a little bit scattered and not very technical, but that's it. Um, I guess I'll send you a separate video with just really short clips of the specifically of the tape and how the tape was looking like in these trades that we were trying to trade, and how I'm trading the open. I think today at the open I said I would send you, because it was just, we had good examples of what we're looking for in the tape. So um, I'll send you a quick um, video with footage from the tape. All right, that's it.